We are here, honest to goodness, in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Our very backyard.
I think one of the interesting facts about this building too is it sat abandoned for like 30 years.
What was that?
The hair on my, it's all standing up right now. Look at that. Actual goosebumps.
Look at, is my shirt moving right now?
Yeah, like pulled out.
My name is Mildred.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What?
I came from a dark place.
Whoa,
Whoa, that just got really weird.
what the fuck? That's weird.
Hello and welcome to What Goes Bump Tonight. I'm your host, Riley Clark, and alongside me, as always, is...
Trevor Jensen.
And tonight, our special guest, one part of Explorers of the Unknown, Shawn, and his dad, Dave. What's going on? Wow, wow, wow.
Ow, ow. Gentlemen. So, I missed you, boys. I missed you guys, for sure. It's been a while, but what is new? Like, let's start there. Because I think a lot of the people that are probably watching already know a lot about what's going on, and who you are, and how we've pointed. And if you haven't, there's another live stream that you should go check out.
Yes, definitely. Not new, nothing. I mean, I said this on our like little 15-minute section. Joe and Ethan did leave the channel, unfortunately. I wish them nothing but the best. So right now it's me, my dad, and obviously Aidan. But we got a lot of stuff, a lot of new things, a lot of crazy things planned for next year. We have a new logo already made. We're waiting to bust that out soon. I'll make a video on that. We'll be getting merch for us to wear, and we'll be doing a free giveaway as well. Yet again, I will address all of those in the same video when I choose to drop that, probably January. Just cool ideas, cool locations for next year.
Yeah, just cooking. You're just in the kitchen cooking. That's what we always say. Where it's like when it's cooking downtime, we brainstorm, and that's when everything comes up with for the rest of the year. Where we're like, hey, that's a goal we're working towards, and this is gonna, when we achieve it, this is gonna take us to the next fucking level.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's how we look at it. It's just like small, like monumental goals. You just
It's a little
reaching there,
moments.
keep getting there, and then eventually, like your plan will succeed. It's destined to.
Yeah, like I was telling him earlier too. I was like, if I look at how our retention rate works and like when we like review the evidence and how we present it, I was like, if we just break it down just like a little bit more and be like, it could be just fine tuned, just that little bit more.
Yeah, like our videos. It's being weird. I'm getting back feed on my freaking head. I don't know.
Really?
Anyway,
I don't hear it at all.
yeah, no, it's gone now. It's not doing it anymore. Okay. It's weird because I work full time, so it's really hard to get videos out on like a regular basis. And I think about it. This time last year, I was at 260 subs, and now I'm finishing the year at like 705. I think it's 706 to be exact right now. And I've done that without any kind of scheduling. I've done that with taking a 2-month break. 2 or 3 videos I posted a month between.
Right.
It's been ridiculous. So next year I got, like I said, I did some cooking. I got a whole schedule cooked up. I'll be posting every week, and it's going to be crazy. And this is when I make my actual, like I've been, like, don't get me wrong, I've been trying this whole time, but I'm really going to be as strict and as serious as I can about this. And this next year, I told Aidan this, I'm like, we're going to have to, at some point this year, film our 1,000 subscriber video.
Yeah.
At some point, because we're going to hit it no matter what.
Well,
I want to see to it.
the
So
momentum's there.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's what all these like YouTube people keep talking about. They're like, the hardest part is hitting that 1,000 subs. After that, it's a lot easier. Dweebs, thank you for the congrats, and I miss you too, Patricia. But yeah, no, it's going to be, next year is going to be very big. I'm just kind of sitting there biding time, getting ready for the storm because it's gonna.
Dude,
it's gonna
super excited
suck.
for it. I can see the forecast now. Like it's gonna happen, bro. Like that's like we're going into our 5th year of doing this podcast now, and like we always said, like the 5th year is going to be the year that like
The year.
things are gonna change for us, and like the way shit has blossomed since not even just the beginning of 2023,
March.
but like in the springtime when we started doing these lives, like we just feel like we've actually found like a real stride to this show
The
and like a
rhythm
formula
works.
that makes us kind of different too, with like the podcasting, the investigations, the like coming up with just new things that really don't see, you know, from other podcasters, like the whole event thing that we did with you
That was
last week
cool.
and everyone else that was on.
Fun.
So like, you know, coming up with new ideas, like that's super exciting. I'm glad that, you know, you're doing that too to help evolve your channel. Like that's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
always nice to hear. Plus, it's like that's a lot of growth over just this year. Because realistically, YouTube is the hardest platform to grow on. It's just like it is a known fact.
It sucks. It really sucks.
It's a grind.
Because everyone like, I feel like it's different now because of the whole like shorts and crap like that. Like so many people are using TikTok to grow their YouTube channel, and when you got to use a separate platform to grow on the other platform, that's crap. I don't like that. It shouldn't be. It's not. YouTube is too busy about its competition with TikTok that it's not pushing out longer form content as it used to before. So it's getting, to me, I feel like it's getting harder and harder. You know, as you know, TikTok grows bigger and bigger, and they're trying to compete with YouTube Shorts. But I mean, hey, it's whatever. Just gotta embrace the suck.
You gotta ride the waves.
It's wild. Like we had a video hit like I think like a couple thousand in a day, and then it rarely ever gets a play now. And it's like, what?
It just
Why
dies,
would it get pushed so hard that one random fucking day, and then it just
fucking gripe
died?
too. And
Like, what?
TikTok, the fucking trailer that we just showed at the beginning of this, it told me it fucking flagged it on my channel and said this is not original content, or it's fucking not like it's low quality. And I uploaded it in 4K 60 frames, and I was like, what the fuck is it talking about? I fucking hate it, dude. And it didn't get pushed, so it's only got like 100 views for real. And I was like, are you serious? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's
Fucking TikTok, dude. I don't use that shit.
It's hard out here. It's hard out here.
We pimping, and the pimping ain't easy.
No, not at all.
So I know last time we talked, though, we said Dave here had some pretty wild stories that we needed to hear from straight from the source.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Well, blessed be thy name, sir.
Well, I grew up in a house that was pretty heavily haunted. A lot of activity, even to this day. And it started pretty much when we first moved there. I was 2 years old when we moved in. The house was 6 years old, and we were the 5th owner.
Huh.
That tells you something right there.
Yeah, that's already really weird.
The guy who built the house lasted 3 months and said, "Oh, I miss the old house I lived in," and just skirted. It sat empty for a couple months, maybe another 6 months. Somebody bought it. They were in it for 3 or 4 months, so on and so forth, until we bought it, and we've been there since 1970. So my mom lives there by herself currently, and my God, we saw things there that, you know, I didn't even talk about until just recently.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing was there was this, and I can only say it's some sort of a creature. It was troll looking. It looked like a troll, and it would come into my room almost every single night. It would get up on the bed. You'd feel the depression on the bed, and the creepiest thing was it had this gigantic Cheshire smile, this big, toothy, gnarly T-Rex looking, you know, horrible smile. And I never told my mother about this because I was just too scared. And the thing was I never wanted to talk about it and give it power. And I mean, I saw that thing every single solitary day. And I'm not kidding you, for 12 years.
That's a lot.
That's terrifying.
I saw it almost every single night. And, you know, I'd close the door to go to sleep, and I'd wake up, the door would be open. You know, things, I'd set stuff up on the floor, you know, so, you know, it would step on something and it would be moved aside. Just the craziest stuff. So here's where it really gets weird, because I never told my mother any of this. And she and I don't know if I'm sensitive. I don't know if I'm, you know, any kind of psych. I don't claim to be, but right. I feel things like most people do. You know, I have an innate feeling when I get into a building. I know when I'm on a bad property, I can tell. And my mother's very much the same. And she slept in the room that I used to sleep in when my father passed away, because she just didn't want to sleep in the same room for a few months. And that's understandable. One night she woke up from a dead sleep to see. Now, I always saw this thing as a troll, and I never really saw any kind of clothing. Just the main thing I can remember was this troll body. And, you know, I don't ever remember really like clothing necessarily. And it wasn't a real big, tall thing. It had the big ears. I mean, just exactly what you would think it was. That's what I saw. And my mother woke up, and there was a man in the closet wearing a flannel shirt and, you know, pants and the whole 9 yards. And she says, and she goes, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. She goes, I saw it and I kind of freaked out. And she said he turned and he had this massive toothy smile. And so now I'm thinking, well, this thing, you know, is this thing, you know, some sort of a, you know, otherworldly being, right, or is this just a ghost that can shapeshift into something that he knows is going to scare you? But the consistency has always been this smile, right? And I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
So when I told her then my story, after she told me about this and how horrified she was, then I told her, she goes, why didn't you ever tell me? I said, because I felt like if I talked about it, it would give it power. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. Yeah. I wanted to starve it. I wanted to just, so I mean, I think about it often and I try not to. But, you know, my mother had back surgery last March, and Shawn and I stayed in the house. And of course, you know, we went to visit mom in the hospital, and then he was helping me do a job. So we stayed at my mother's house because it was halfway. So I slept in my parents' room and he slept in my old room. And we no sooner laid down, when we were investigating all night, we really didn't see anything. We really didn't hear anything. And all of a sudden we hear this huge bang upstairs in the upstairs, and we just hear walking back and forth. And we had cameras up there, we had recorders up there, and nothing was captured.
Of course not.
Of course not. We heard it with our own ears. You could feel it in the house. Like you could feel the steps. It was crazy. We went up, there was nothing there.
Why do you think that is? Like, why wouldn't any of the devices capture it? But like, it's there. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, it's
like,
100% there.
Things like that happen to us.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, how many times you've been to a place where you're in a room, you see something like visibly walk through the place, and it's not captured on anything. You know, like how is that? How is that even possible?
That's the best fucking question there is. Like, how?
No, it's just strange, you know. And like we've had so much activity in that house. I can remember one year at Halloween we had a jack-o'-lantern on the television, and that's when TVs were like, you know, 5 feet wide by 4 feet tall, and you know, they were big as a house. And we had this
projector TVs,
the giant console TV.
Yep.
And 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, we just hear this bang. And I yelled over to my mom, like, Mom, what was that? She's like, I don't know. Well, we both got up, and we went out in the kitchen, and we looked around. We went into the living room, and the jack-o'-lantern was on the other side of the living room, smashed against the wall in a million pieces.
How's that happen?
20 foot long, deep living room. You tell me how it gets over there.
That's insane. There's no way it rolled.
No, it couldn't possibly have rolled.
No way.
You could see on the wall where it hit, and it was about 3 feet up, about the same height as where it was on the TV.
That's interesting as shit too. Like, what the fuck is that? Do you think it's like a residual thing that happens there, or do you think it's just like something that
sounds like it's something
with everybody?
It's got a lot of
I think
power.
it's intelligent to be honest with you. I think there's an intelligence to it. Because, I mean, my mother has seen things, like every time somebody passes away in a family, they come to visit every single time. My grandfather went and visited and had like a 30-minute conversation with my nephew up in his room, telling him everything was going to be fine. Don't be sad. It's okay. When my mother's uncle passed away, he came in, leaned over the bed, like grabbed her arm. She had a bruise on her arm the next day. I mean, and the thing was I'd seen like shadow figures and different things in the room, and my room, my mother's room were side by side. So like there was a closet in between the two. Half the closet was mine, half the closet was hers. And every time I saw something and I'd see it, it would go shooting into that closet, and you could see it shoot in the closet and go up. When she would see something on the other side of that closet, it would shoot in the closet and go up, which means to me there must be some sort of a portal or vortex there.
Has to. Right?
I mean, but the thing is she's invited Shawn and I to come there and investigate stuff. But the thing is, I don't want to kick anything up so it gets bad for her. She lives there by herself.
Yeah, like, that's exactly our
You know what I mean?
Too, where it's like, that's like somebody we know very personally. I really love them. And also, like, if we stir up something that's kind of nasty, that's also going to throw pumpkins and shit. Like, that might not be great.
It would make you feel kind of bad.
Yeah, definitely. I have to live with that for a while. Be like, oh fuck, heart attack central. If I seen something get levitated, bro, I don't even know how to react.
Honestly, it sounds like there's like potentially like a portal in that house somewhere. Like the property is a portal or something.
Has to, like, something just won't.
I agree, because I mean the whole property was an old farm, and the farmhouse used to be around when I was a kid. It was all dilapidated. Of course, we went back there and played in the thing and had all kinds of fun.
We all did.
Of course, right? And that's probably when I started, because we always said it was a haunted house back there. And of course, we were all in it, and you always swore, oh, I see a ghost in there, It probably never did, but we used to psych ourselves out. And, you're 10 years old,
That's how I feel, like, where it's like, did I, though? Like, now that I think about it, like, was I tricking myself afterwards? Where it's like, no, I didn't really see that. No, did I? Why the fuck did I think of this?
Yeah, exactly. But there was no evidence or no records of it. We never saw one. But the neighbor lady who lived next door to us, it was her husband's family farm.
Yeah,
and they had said that there was an actual family plot back there.
Makes sense.
So, and of course we were in the Lenape Indians were in our area. So, I mean, could the Indians have been on the property and, done something? I mean, who knows? I mean, really.
There's so many options there.
There's so much.
It really is, though.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then my grandparents owned a farm in northern Bucks County. And this thing was from the 1700s. It was a very, very old, actually early 1700s. It was a very old farm. And there was a little cottage on the property. It was the original farmhouse. It was a stone house. And it was all dilapidated. Of course, you weren't supposed to be in there. So I was always in there. And I can remember one time being in there and I saw a man in there, and he looked colonial, had the ponytail, but I only saw him from the waist up, and he walked through and he looked at me and just kept right on walking and just disappeared. And I was probably 8 or 9, maybe, and it was like, holy cow. So then
what do I make of it?
Yeah, it was like, did I really see that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I started looking into it, and we learned a little bit about it. And turns out when Washington crossed the Delaware in the Revolutionary War, Lafayette used the farm as his headquarters, and specifically that house.
Oh, shit.
So Lafayette and his troops wintered on that farm and in that immediate area. And my mother tells stories about how when my grandfather used to plow in the spring, bones used to just get churned up with the plow.
Shit.
And she goes, there was like muskets in the ground, and there was, they were clearly soldiers, right?
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
That had just passed away, and they just buried them, shallow graves and moved on. And I can remember as a kid walking through the one pasture, and I tripped because it was, it was fall, and it was brush everywhere. And then I took like 3 or 4 more steps and tripped again and did it again. And it was uniform. So I started looking around. And then when the winter came, I went back out there and it was just rows of these little stones that were in the ground. And they must have been, like, even back in the day, they used field stones, right?
Yeah.
Just whatever kind of a stone they found in the field, they put it there and didn't necessarily even mark it.
Yeah.
They would just use it to mark the plot. And that was kind of creepy when I realized, well, geez, you know, this field that I've been playing in for the last 10 years as a kid, you know, it's a graveyard, for God's sakes.
That's insanity, actually.
But I mean, even that house, I mean, we used to sleep on the 2nd floor and there was an attic that we were not allowed to go in. And you used to hear walking around up there all the time. And nobody ever went up there. I mean, it's 11, 12 o'clock at night. My grandparents were farmers. They were in bed early.
Yeah.
And, so us as kids, we're sitting there. We're not used to going to bed at 8 o'clock, so we're just sitting there talking, me and my cousins or me and my sister. And then all of a sudden we just hear us walking back and forth upstairs. And so we sneak out, we go look at my grandparents' room and they're sleeping.
Yep.
So, well, who's up there? and was that why they didn't want us up there? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Like what could possibly be up there that you're hearing footsteps?
No, it was, hard-soled shoes, heel toe.
Yeah, like straight boots.
That's straight up old-time boots. It was crazy.
That's crazy. You gotta love that though, where it's like everywhere that you possibly could have ended up, you ended up in houses that are absolutely fucking bonkers.
Oh, absolutely crazy. And I mean, and the history of that property goes back, many, many years, and that was Native American land as well.
Yep.
But there's a little town nearby where the founder of the town, I had investigated that particular inn, and when he marked out when he staked out the property corners for his inn, he did it with dug up Native American bones, and that's how he marked his property corners.
Holy shit!
It's well documented. You can read up on it and find it. It's no problem at all.
I feel like that's just inviting something gnarly.
Well, exactly right.
Yeah, disturbing people's graves to mark your property.
To mark your property. I mean, how ballsy is that? Right? I mean, what a dick.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. What a douche.
Like, demons, I'm here. It's your boy.
Yeah, that's like the most ridiculous thing when I read that, because I was looking up the history before we went, and it was when I was with another group, and was looking up the history, and I was like, holy cow. Like, I mean, I lived in my grandparents' farm, like in the summertime I'd go there and stuff and stay with my grandparents, and that was 5 minutes away, in the same town they lived in.
Bold move.
Very bold. So yeah, I don't think so. Not for me.
I don't think I could do it. Where it's I didn't give a shit.
When did you start doing paranormal investigations, Dave?
Well, we started kind of moving around, like doing the whole abandoned house type stuff and abandoned property stuff. Me and my friends did, even when we were like 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And, just not really necessarily paranormal, more like you call like urban exploring.
Yeah.
And then the first time I really went and it was on an actual targeted ghost hunt was probably like 2002, maybe 2001, 2002. I had met a group online. It was right around the time he was born, actually, Philly Paranormal. And some of the guys that were in that group, we got to talking on some of the early meetup groups. And first place I ever went was Fort Mifflin. And that's right by the Philly airport. And what happened because we had like maybe 20 people there, right? So they divided everybody up. And they put me with another group who they had a lot of equipment. I was there with a voice recorder and just a regular camera. That's all I had.
Yeah, winging it.
Just, hey, see what I can see, And, I know what I saw as a kid and I knew what I saw growing up. But, it's like I call bullshit on almost everything and everybody, because, I'm not going to just sit here and wholesale sell out and buy into it, unless it's really, really good evidence. I mean, it's much different. And Shawn will say, and you guys know when you're there, and you're experiencing it, it's a different vibe, and people get excited, and that's all good. But I don't take all the evidence at face value. You got to look into it a little bit. But at any rate, we went into they divide us up, and we went into this powder magazine, and it's kind of cool. You've been there now, Shawn, and you walk in, and it's kind of like a labyrinth. It's like a brick. Oh, you guys ever been there?
No.
Yeah, it's a Revolutionary War fort. It was built by the British actually before the Revolutionary War, and of course the rebels took it over. And so you walk through this maze almost. It's like a little wiggle to get into the main part of the building, and that's to keep any like sparks from fires from going in there and igniting the powder magazine, right? So they made it, like a serpentine. So at any rate, we went in, and there was talk, there's a little boy spirit or something down at the end. And so these people were focused down on the end. Now, the lady who was standing next to me, she was a psychic medium. And she had said to me when she first met me, she goes, boy, I don't think I'd really want to be any place that was really, really haunted, especially negatively around you. And I'm like, well, what the heck's that mean? And she's like, well, I think you have some sort of abilities that haven't woke up yet. I'm like, oh, brother, that's all I need, I said enough. So anyway, I turn around and I look at the doorway, and the doorway's perfectly dark. I mean, it's really dark. You can't see anything. And I look and I see this dark silhouette, darker than the dark, standing there. Big, tall, menacing thing. And I'm standing there. Everything else is going on in the back, and I'm turned around looking over here, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm just watching it. Well, and now this girl, I think her name was Nicole, she's standing like four feet away from me. And I reach over, I'm like, are you seeing this? She goes, you looking at the door? And I said, yeah. She goes, what are you seeing? And I said, well, I see a figure that's darker than the dark. She goes, yeah. She goes, and don't look now, but he's coming at us. So like you couldn't see legs, but like it was like a flowing long, almost like a tattered curtain, and it would like wave back and forth as it moved. So it would move towards us a few steps and then retreat back to the doorway. And it did that till it got right up into our face. And it got right up on us. And I just instinctively reached out my hand and I put it into it. And it was clammy, cold, and dense. And I'd never experienced anything like this before. And when I did that, it retreated to the door. And she goes, what did that feel like? And I said, remember that slime stuff you played with when you were a kid? Remember how clammy and cold it was? That's what it felt like. Hand to God, that's what it felt like.
That's crazy. So
then I'm like, man, my leg's cold. And there was this little poof, like a little round, it looked like a ball. It was all dark, real dark. And it was at my leg. And she goes, I wonder if that was his dog or his cat or something.
What?
And I'm like, well, I don't know. And it was standing right next to him. So we went over to the doorway and she stuck her hand in and I stuck my hand in again. And we talked with it. And the other people who were at the other end, they came up. They had IR cameras, didn't capture anything. We got some EVP off of it, some, grumbling, like, kind of growly voices but you couldn't really make it out.
Right.
But that was within like the first 40 minutes of being on Fort Mifflin.
That's crazy.
And from there, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe there's something to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
That's intense.
That's kind of how it felt for us too. Like our first real investigation at the old Lincoln County Jail. It felt like as soon as we stepped into the building, like shit just started going. Like walkie-talkies in our backpack just turned on. No idea why.
Yeah. I would say like when you have that first like your first like real paranormal investigation, like you're there and this place is for sure 100% haunted. It like takes you back because like at the same time everything's starting to happen, you don't realize it. Sometimes in the moment you're like, oh well, that's just kind of weird, and then like maybe it happens again or something else happens. You're like, okay, I can't just keep saying that's something weird all night. Like that's something paranormal at this point. Like this can't be a weird, like eventful, oddly eventful night. Like shit just can't turn on all by itself all night, and doors can't look like they opened a little bit more than what they were when I walked by 20 minutes ago, or that door was definitely closed. Now it's open.
And this was when we were still really, really skeptical of shit actually happening. Because, like, it was very early on in our careers of ghost hunting at this point. So, you know, like, you're, like, looking for every little detail with way too fine tooth of a comb. Because, like, realistically, it doesn't visually happen very often.
Right.
But, like, if you pay attention, you'll see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know as well as I do, it's always kind of out of the corner of your eye. It's almost never directly head on. And this thing was in my face. I mean, it was
That's nuts.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, short of that creature that used to come into my bedroom when I was a little kid, you know. And you know, I mean, honestly, that was it for me. That was like, holy cow, there's really something to this. And you know, after that, we went to all the different places in Fort Mifflin and never really caught anything crazy. You know, I mean, we had a lot of voices, a lot of audio there. I mean, a lot of audio, but we never saw anything more. But even, I mean, I wouldn't have had to see anything or even capture anything the rest of the night, because to me that was unbelievable. I mean, and that
insane.
That really cemented, you know, okay, there's something else going on.
Yeah, we can't understand everything. I really don't believe we can.
Not now, anyway. Maybe who knows? Maybe in a few years we'll have some sort of groundbreaking event that tells us something. But
I mean, with the way technology is moving, I wouldn't even doubt that that they find out what spectrum they need to look at,
right,
and then you can just like key in right onto it.
Even just the new SLS that's out, the way it like 3D maps and stuff,
crazy.
Like that is craziness in its own. It's like literally seeing another dimension that we can't see through infrared, and then 3D mapping what it's seeing. Like what? Like,
yeah,
you think about that like mentally in your head for a second. It's like, how is that even possible? We're getting a 3D rendered image from the infrared light, so we're only mapping what's seen in that spectrum. What?
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, the technology's really come along, and I know just using your SLS here, the past few investigations, we've caught some very interesting stuff, some extremely interesting stuff, which will come out soon, and yeah, we got some really cool stuff with it.
Yeah, how is that? I don't think we've had many people on with the SLS camera. Like, how do you like it?
I enjoy it. We haven't used it too much. The first time we ever used it, we're at the Gettysburg videos that we just dropped. And then since then we've been to White. We went to Hillview. I don't think we used it at Hillview, but we went to White Hill Mansion. We used it there, and we went to Penhurst and used it there as well. Now I'll tell you a little bit. Don't want to spoil all of it, but we captured what looked at White Hill. We captured what looked to be a figure on the SLS cam, peeking and cheating at a game of cards.
Yeah.
That's actually wild.
And out of the 5 games played, the spirit won 4 of them.
Because he's playing with a loaded hand.
He knew.
Yeah, he knew exactly what was up. And Aidan's not a card player, nor am I, and so we were going to win anyway. But yeah, no.
Would you play blackjack, or poker?
Yeah, blackjack. Yeah, we just played 21. And in fact, at one point, I was doing the Estes, and they started talking about, there was a table in the corner and it had cards on it. This is a different instance. And they told Aidan to go over, and I said, and I kept saying Aidan's name constantly, Aidan. And then at one point I said, go to the table. And next thing you know, I mean, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize what was going on, but I must have told them to play cards. And that's when the spirits beat Aidan 4 out of 5 hands.
Dude, that's nuts.
It was crazy.
And that's the first time that's ever happened. And that White Hill Mansion, that place is real.
I don't want to speak too much on it because it's not out.
Where is that at?
That's in Jersey. It's right across the
Jersey?
Delaware from Philly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd recommend dude. When I said on Twitter that when I told everyone on Twitter that I was going to go to White Hill, dude, like 3-4 people hit me up privately saying how crazy that place was and that they love it there. And then when I said how crazy it was after, those people and then some hit me up asking me what the hell happened. Everyone is in love with that place for some reason. I mean, I get why now, but
I get why.
It's the creep factor there is unreal.
It's a scale of 11. I mean, it's off the chart. It's so creepy, and especially by yourselves. I mean, the three of us were together. Myself, Shawn, and Aidan were together, and stuff was happening within 5 feet of us. And we hadn't even started investigating. We were just setting cameras up.
We were doing the history part, and we heard noises, and Aidan goes like, and you just hear bang, like
right next to me on the steps. I was like, holy cow.
We weren't even investigating it. It was wild.
Best feeling though is when you get that immediate response, because we did the same thing at the poorhouse. I'm almost done with that video, I promise. But like we were like, is there, if like anybody's here, you want to play hide and go clap? Here, I'll show you how to do it. And then not even 10 seconds later, you hear,
oh, dead.
What the fuck? And all of us are standing.
It was like, it had to be 2 floors above us too, so it was like a loud clap, but it sounded quiet.
Like a clap, but it like you can hear the audio go pop pop. So like there's a spike, but it to us we heard it audibly because we're all standing in front of the like staircases. So like the audio traveled throughout the room before it hit the fucking mic.
That's nuts.
But it was like, what the hell was that?
It was wild. That was the first thing that happened.
Yeah, that was the start of the like I guess you could say morning because it was like 1 o'clock.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
To answer Patricia's question, what we can look forward to in 2024.
Fire.
So I'm going to develop a schedule. I'll be uploading weekly. I don't know if I said it on here yet. We have a new series that we're going to be doing. Something I really haven't seen before. So that's going to be pretty nuts. Some special guests on the channel helping out. And bigger locations. I feel like a lot of the locations we've went to, apart from a few, have been smaller, no-names locations, which I still want to do.
Right.
But it's time for us to, get up there. I'm talking Waverly. I'm talking, like what we just did, Penhurst, Moundsville. I got 2 separate road trips planned. One with me and Matt from Haunted Archives, just me and him.
Oh yeah.
I think we're going to make that a yearly thing, yearly tradition now, because we did it last year at Wildwood and Hinsdale. And then we got a separate road trip going where we're going to hit 4 locations. And actually, just to give you guys a teaser, I will reveal these locations for you on this stream.
Oh, shit. Oh boy.
So first up, this is the order I think it's going to go in. First up, we got 4 locations. We got Sweet Spring Sanatorium.
Shit.
Then we're going to Waverly.
Another heavy.
Then we're going to Old Hospital and College Hill.
Another heavy.
And then we're going to West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Grand slam. Boom.
Duh.
Crazy.
That's
wild. That's so lit, dude. Wow. Those are all like literally like bucket list like locations.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is going.
Every one of them is notorious for some other, like some very fucking crazy claims.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I said. We need to go someplace, that we haven't been to. I've been to Moundsville, and that place was pretty scary. But I haven't been to the other places, and I've seen Waverly, but I've not been in it. So, we decided let's try to go big, do a big, week and a half long road trip and see what we see.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It is draining as all hell. But
we got I think we got like a day in between each investigation because I think we're going to be out for 9 days.
Yeah, just
So yeah, we definitely have time to recover. We were going to do 5, but we realized that we would have to do back to back. All that we're going to have to dump the footage, and save it onto a laptop, and charge your stuff. And I'm just like, it's so
Buy,
much,
like,
and
10
it's extra money.
externals.
So I feel like it'd be better if we got like a day in between. That way we can hit it at 100% the entire time. You know what I mean?
Go to
Every
sleep,
location.
transferring, charging.
Oh.
And look, if you find some place in between, some little small place, and you hit it for a couple 3 or 4 hours, one night, that's on a day off, then that's cool too. So
I think those in between nights to hit like a cemetery or something that's like super creepy, like would be fire.
Or maybe there's some sort of old Indian, Native American burial grounds, or just anything. Some little old haunted jail that's way off the beaten track nobody knows about.
Oh yeah, there's tons of like 2-man cell jails out there that no one fucking know about at all.
Exactly.
And it was
Tons
a
of them.
wild west.
Especially out where you guys are on the East Coast. Like there's so much history out there in so many different places that like are just forgotten with time and people like moving out of the area.
Absolutely.
I mean, fuck, dude. It just feels like everywhere that we go at this point is just going to be a fucking hotbed, because it's like every team has the little spots already just figured the fuck out. And it's like, shit, dude, a lot of these places I don't even know about. And then you guys are telling me how fucking crazy this is. And it's like, that's going to end up being a hotbed for everybody, because that's how stuff starts. It gets on the map that way, where you start spreading that word of mouth where it's like, come here. You need to see this place.
Yeah, like the poorhouse. Like we're trying to put that place on the map. Like that place is crazy.
That's all I've in Van Buren County, Michigan.
Okay.
Yep, the Van Buren Historical Society runs it, and it is literally 48 rooms of just full top to bottom, wall to wall, just every antique you could possibly imagine from like every era from 17, probably 20s. This is how it feels, and then like all the way up to like past World War II and shit. It's like, what is happening?
It's crazy.
I don't know. They're just plans. But there's a place that I live nearby that doesn't have any. They have a ghost tour, but really it's just the history tour at night. So I'm going to try to see if I can open and cut them a deal and do some kind of paranormal tourism, booking private investigations and stuff at some locations nearby.
Be the resident.
These places seem legit, like an old jail, stuff like that. They had public hangings inside the jail, stuff like that. So I definitely want to see if I can open my own kind of paranormal tourism business.
Yeah, we have been pitching that idea out here for a minute now, and people are not with it yet. Eventually they will be.
We haven't got to talk to the top dog about it yet, though. That's the thing. Is we pitched the idea to an underling, and the underling probably didn't say anything.
No, well, that's the thing, and a lot of these people who are the actual owners, they try to stay out of the limelight, and they're hard to get a hold of. You got to fight through.
Too.
Yeah, you got to fight through 10 different people just to get to them, and somebody you thought was the owner is, just an employee or just a volunteer, and
the funny part for us is a lot of the historical stuff around here is run by legitimate board members that have been on the board for about 80 years.
Yep.
So it's oh man, I don't know if they know how to use emails. That's how bad it is sometimes. So it's yeah, it is really hard to nail down somebody that we can talk to that is in the authority figure state.
Yeah, no question.
It's too bad too, because a lot of these places would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's so many we always say this, there's so many hidden gems hauntedly out there that nobody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
Man, for instance, the houses you grew up in.
The fuck is that?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And
right.
the houses I grew up in.
There you go.
Well, I'll tell you, if my grandma ever, moves out or whatever, expect a video.
If she moves out before we hand that place over, we're gonna spend a couple days.
I'd make that home base if I could. We do the podcast out of there. It'd be
There you
like
go.
our fucking
Oh yeah,
workspace.
we've talked about this before, but like our goal eventually one day is to like hopefully you'd be making a good amount of money, whether it's this or our own careers, and buy a haunted building and host the podcast like out of the haunted
Yeah,
building.
why
Like,
not?
I think that would be
How
dope.
fucking cool would that be?
Sweet. Be awesome.
It's like also there's bedrooms. Like you want to sleep here? Like we got a long day of work tomorrow. We got a lot of research to do. All of a sudden, shit's going fucking nuts, and it's like, all right, put them fucking IR cameras on tonight. Like shit's going off.
Yep.
It'd be so cool to do that like, on a building, you know.
That's
Dude.
what I'm saying. One day we will do it. I want to, honest to God, I want to have like a museum too, like how Zach has, where it's
Yeah.
like how objects are also intriguing as fuck to me.
They are.
I thought it would be cool to have like, granted you would need like the permission to do it, but just collect like a little bit of like a dirt sample from every location, because like a lot of the shit that happened there has been absorbed by the earth and happened on that, like Gettysburg, for example. Just I bet there's so much iron in the dirt from blood, like absolutely ridiculous. Everything that happened there happened on top of that soil, and I feel like all that energy, gets sucked in and drawn in by the earth, and is forever there. So to have like a little bit, like kind of like think about like a shelf full of like glass jars, jars of dirt,
and they're just in those.
Yeah, like how
Gettysburg,
collect, like, beach
Penhurst,
sand.
crazy shit like that. I think that'd be cool, and I bet it would have a lot of energy.
The two above it, where it's like a little Polaroid, where it's just like think. That'd be
Yeah.
fucking big.
Super cool.
Needs to
Hey,
happen.
Gettysburg's our happy place. We love that place.
Oh man, one day I will go there. One day.
If you ever in the area, bro, just
Let
hit
us know, bro.
Oh, of course. Of course.
We're like 2 hours away.
So Dave, what was your first experience at Gettysburg?
First thing I was an actual visual thing. He was little. Him and his brother were little. We were there on a family vacation, and we were crawling around the rocks. I just happened to look over, and I saw, and there was a lot of reenactors there, right? And I saw this guy standing there, with his cappy on and his rucksack and a gun. And I was like, oh man. So I called the boys over because I wanted to go get a picture with this guy because he looked really good. He looked authentic. And I turned around to yell to him to come over. I turned back around, he's gone.
Oh no.
I got up on top of the boulder. I looked all around and there was nobody there. There's absolutely nobody there. That was the first thing that I saw. And we were just there. Like I said, we were there in broad daylight,
That's so jarring.
Yeah, it was alarming. I was like, wait a minute.
Like,
no wonder he looked authentic. He was authentic.
Like, did that really happen to me, or am I losing my marbles?
Yeah, no, and he was just as solid as you or I. I mean, he looked like an actual person standing there. And like I said, it was one of the anniversaries. I don't know, it was like 140th or something like that, or 138th or 42nd anniversary, I think it was. And we were there. It was the first time we were ever there as a family, and there's reenactors all over the place because it was during the anniversary, and it was like, holy cow.
Right.
And,
what are the coincidences of this?
yeah, I mean that doesn't happen.
No, never.
What was it like? Was that like a live photo almost when you were looking at him? Like he was moving, but like kind of like still.
Yeah,
at
he
the
was
same
he was
time, or-
literally. It was still. He was standing still, just kind of standing there, like he was actually looking towards Little Round Top, and he was just standing there looking towards Little Round Top. And I looked over, I'm like, oh man, this guy looks really legit. I'm like, I'm gonna go get the kids, and they were just down below me. So I yelled to him to come up, and I went to turn around to go talk to the guy, and he was 20 feet away.
Damn.
And I turned around, and he was gone. And it was like, wait a minute. And then it was like, you question your sanity.
It makes you wonder, like, was he like reliving that moment of like charging, Little Round Top, or was he like he never got there? You know what I mean? Like he was standing off in the distance looking and got hit with a stray bullet, and like
yeah.
Do they even perceive you at that point? You know what I mean? Like,
or did he not even realize? Like that's kind of what I'm saying. Like he was in the moment that he was living and didn't even know that you were there.
I think that's exactly right. I think it was very residual because there was no interaction and he didn't seem to be looking at. And there's people around, there's other people around, but he didn't seem to be interacting or noticing anyone or minding anyone anyway. And like I said, I looked, I turned around and yelled to him and his brother. I turned back around and he was gone.
That's crazy.
He was probably
so many people have that experience too at Gettysburg, specifically, like seeing a soldier.
Yeah.
So many people, like you're not even close to being the only person that's ever seen that. Like it's wild to think that it can be like that concentrated of an experience there. Yeah. And it just shows you like how powerful like war and death and
I mean
can be
on American soil.
The trauma that these men went through is just, I mean, you can't even imagine it, right? I mean, to just charge headlong into a cannon full of musket balls, you know, 50, 60, 100 musket balls flying at your head, you know, and you just go after it. I mean, God bless them. I mean, I can't imagine it.
Yeah, and the thing is, those musket balls aren't going to kill you on hit. They're going to ricochet through your body and fuck you up for later.
Oh yeah, yeah. Most of them didn't die right away. You know, days later, a lot of them, or at least hours anyway.
Yeah, no good for me, dog. I'll take a big.
No, I'll not go that way if I don't have to.
God, I can't even imagine like what the like sounds of battle sounded like back in the day. Like nowadays we can kind of imagine it, you know, with the video games and stuff.
Had to have been so loud, dude.
You can actually watch that stuff firsthand. But like Gettysburg would have been a totally different like kind of straight chaos, honestly. Like just you got
yells,
cannons, you got yells, you got muskets, you got
horses were heavily utilized. Probably hearing the neigh.
You got citizens sitting on the hilltops watching, like having a picnic. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen those like paintings and stuff. I'm sure you have. Like the people literally just like sitting, having a picnic, watching this battle happen.
Well, the very first, like the first Manassas, the first Bull Run, you know, the people came down out of DC because they went out for the afternoon for a day of picnicking and frolicking to watch this quote unquote war, which nobody thought was going to be anything. And, you know, by the end of the day, you know, thousands of men were killed and they just left terrified, horrified by the scene. You know, nobody thought it was going to be like that. They all thought it would be, you know, one little skirmish and then, okay, everybody came to their senses, but they were dug in.
That's why they say war changes a man.
Oh,
like you see atrocities that you should never see as a person, honest to God.
Yeah.
And like I've never been to war and I have the utmost respect for people who have seen combat because fuck, dude, it is not for me. My mental health could not handle that shit. I would break.
Yeah, God bless the men and women of the armed forces that do what they do every day to keep us safe because, you know, it's
and
tough.
It's even crazier too because a lot of them were just kids. They're they're young.
Other places like that. Well, and think about it too like this, where it's like if we have our own cryptics and stuff like that, well, we've heard accounts of these people going to different countries, 19, 18 years old, and they see these things that are completely like there's no explanation for them. Like I heard a story once of like in the Civil War too of this, like I forgot exactly where, but they were like taking some hill, and then this like creature came in the middle of the night and pretty much killed both sides. And it was like on Native American territory as well. So they said it was probably like a Wendigo or something of that nature. And it's like, what the fuck is that, dude? Like, why do we have stories like that? Is that not like just like foul omens that say, hey, that actually probably did happen? That doesn't just get made up.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, I read a lot of Civil War history, both sides. James Longstreet, he reports in his one of his memoirs that I read. Robert E. Lee reports in one of his. Stonewall Jackson reports in one of his. Grant reports in his. They all saw lights in the sky. When the major battles were going on, they saw all these lights zooming around the sky, and they thought they were angels. And what was it? You know, was it UFOs? Were they coming down to see what was going on?
Yeah,
because nothing had really happened in the world
that shit.
violent in a really long time. Actually, if they, like
Yep.
there was other wars going on, I'm sure, but they weren't as violent as Gettysburg was.
Right.
History
No,
is-
and this happened all throughout the Civil War. I mean, they saw it early on. They saw it at the end there at Petersburg. They saw, they saw these lights, and nobody could make heads or tails out of it. You know.
I still can't.
No,
I mean, I know what Starlink looks like now, but like everything else
that freaked me out the first time I saw it.
exactly. Like it is jarring the first time you see it because it's like, what is this? Like, what is this?
Think about this too. Their dark was way darker than the dark that we see.
There's less ambient light for sure.
Way darker. Like we would have to. I don't even know if we could escape the light pollution completely to have the kind of like
You have to go to
darkness
like,
that they
Antarctica
actually experienced.
or like Alaska, like deep in the wilderness of Alaska.
Yeah, super
Maybe.
dark. Like you go up to Mount Washington, up on top of Mount Washington, it's
Yeah.
pretty freaking dark up there. I've spent many nights up there. That's real low noise light pollution. We've got a camp that we go to. It's a hunting club. There's 800 acres up in the wilds of Pennsylvania, and it's plenty dark. And I consumed a few alcoholic beverages, and the first time I saw Starlink, I'm like, "What the hell's that?" And there's about 6 of us sitting down around the fire. I'm like, "Holy shit! Look at that thing!"
I'm crazy, right?
And then the one guy was like, "Oh no, it's Starlink." I was like, "Oh shit."
It's like we've advanced that far already where we have fucking internet beaming down through fucking this crazy chain of satellites.
It was nuts. Yeah, the first time you see it, it's alarming as hell.
Yeah, I seen it. I think the first time this past summer,
Yeah, same here.
and I was like, "Whoa, that's nuts!" Like,
Yeah.
I got so upset because I was like, how did I miss it for so long? Like, how much more did I miss?
Right. I mean, that's a known thing, and you can pretty much set your watch by where it is and when it's going to be by. And
Yeah, and you still miss it because you're not
what are
paying
you missing, right?
Yeah, the times that I have seen stuff have always been some random time because I was laying in the Nunica Cemetery on one of our investigations, randomly taking a break, was just staring up, laying there, and then I seen like I think it was a craft because it was a really bright light, just start like doing absolutely like breakneck speed, like aerial like acrobatics. This is the best way to say it, where it's like I can't explain what the fuck that is. That's not like a bird. That's not like a plane because it's not moving correctly. If it is,
gotta be Superman.
it's gotta be extremely fucking bullshit. Because I was like, "There's no way," and then it just kind of like immediately did that whole like, "All right, going a straight line," and it's gone. It's like, oh, like I saw that. I'm not insane. Like I've been paying attention. Like the fuck is happening?
That's nuts.
Like,
Well, my mother told us a story, the same farm that I was telling you guys about earlier. Well, she grew up on that farm, and this was back in the 40s, 50s when everybody was seeing UFOs, right? And so again, they're in the middle of the country, miles from anybody. And the one night they were out on the front porch, and they see this really bright light, across the valley, and it's moving towards them. And there's airplanes then, but this thing made no noise. And she said it came into their field and just cast a big, like huge, brilliant, bright spotlight down onto the field and sat there with this light shining down. And then the light would go off and it'd move a little bit and then come down. And it came, and they watched this thing for like 45 minutes.
what the fuck?
And so they were all in their yard, and it was like it was shining down right in the road, right next to where they were standing. And like they're watching this thing, looking up, and it made no sound. It was a big, disc-like looking thing. She told us this last summer, right? It's the first I'd even heard of it. And for 3 nights in a row, they watched this thing come, and just all around the whole area, silent as anything. And then all of a sudden, it would just go, gone. And she watched that back in the 40s or 50s, and way back in the day.
Right? And why would she have any reason to lie to you about that?
No, I mean, none.
Like
None.
no reason whatsoever to lie about that.
Absolutely not. And she's like, yeah, we were all kind of really nervous about it. We had this very uneasy feeling because, what the hell could it have been?
Yeah, that exactly. Like that's probably the exact feeling that I would say too. Is like it makes me feel very uneasy.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't explain it, and if you could explain it, then we already have the answers. And
Right. It's just like, did I really just see what I saw? Like, you saw it too? We both just saw that?
yeah,
What?
like, is it gonna come back now that we both know?
What does it mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean? Like, is it coming? Is it looking for me? Is it
Yeah,
for
like,
you,
what
me
do it?
specifically, or you specifically? Like,
And that's the thing, it's like she's always had these paranormal experiences throughout her whole life, but she said that's kind of when they started. So
she had her first extraterrestrial encounter,
right, so like after that happened, then all this other stuff started happening to her, and then then of course then it comes into our house up in our where I grew up, and so it's like was that something that attached to her from there, or something that she did? Who knows? I mean, this is all
right? Well,
conjecture, but
I've always said that, like, if aliens are completely real, like, I don't doubt that. I don't know if we see as many as we think we do, but realistically, if they're like living beings, they probably have a soul, and that soul probably moves on in death. We don't know what their death is or anything about them either. But like realistically, if their spirits are like weird and funky looking, maybe these demons that people are seeing are actually aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, it could 100% be the realist, but I don't know. Like, it's just a theory that I heard and maybe thought about for a long time.
bro.
You take a little telescope out in your backyard, point it up to the sky, and look through it. And you have those little charts that you have on your phone and stuff. And inside that scope, there's what 10, 15 galaxies.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me, and that's in one little tiny round area in the massive night sky.
Yeah.
How can we feel like we're the only intelligent people? And
our bodies will expire before we get to the edge of our own galaxy.
Correct.
How the fuck does that happen? Like, there's got to be something else, dude. Like, I don't believe it when you tell me that there's not. Like, I don't even think flat Earth is even completely capable of being a funny argument anymore. I just find it to be stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm done here. We're gonna roll this one back. I don't think it's even possible.
What's beyond the beyond?
Right. Yeah. And in our lifetime, will we ever know? Probably not.
I really hope we get the answer.
I don't even think in our lifetime or the next 100 years we're even gonna be remotely close to even getting onto Mars yet. Like, I think any mission that they plan to go to Mars within the next 200 years probably is going to fail.
Are they not going back to the moon this next year too?
Yeah. There's plans.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
See, the moon's one thing because we have already done that. So we should have been doing it the whole time. We would be so much further in space travel if we would have just not quit on it.
They made it a landing base for the next place to go, and then did the same thing and just kept making it.
I think that's what they're planning on doing, is using it as like a port.
Well, they probably have the SG-1 like fucking teleporter portals now, and they just didn't tell anybody yet. So
they
boom, boom.
Most likely there probably is something like that already.
I don't with the accounts that came out of like Antarctica, how they have that super collider that basically like caused the earthquakes in South America. Anything's fucking possible. There's so much evidence that proves that like it 100% could definitely be the government that fucking caused that, because there's no real rhyme or reason why there was an earthquake there.
I don't even know anything about that, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Just stay tuned. I'll do an episode on it. I'll put it out within the next month. I promise. Because it fucking fascinated me, where it's like, because Antarctica itself is a fucking conundrum, where it's just like it's a frozen desert, and it's like nobody lives there. Nobody can hospitably live there.
And it's like it's the only continent controlled by every single country.
That too, and the fact that it's like, is it just fucking like wasteland, like utopia bullshit, where it's like everything's free game, bro? Just like dig a hole, make a base, and you're safe.
And why do the rich and powerful have property there and are the only people allowed to travel there at free will?
Yep.
Like what is that?
That's what I'm fucking saying, dude. Like, what is that?
Freaking guy.
Of all time.
You're lucky I let you in my truck this last time. Usually I make him ride in the back.
Hell yeah. I love it. You gotta know your place, son.
Good old Maddie.
Oh, he's a good boy. Love him. I can't believe how sick he was, and he still managed to come on that showcase.
Yeah,
Fucking-
shout out to Dark Webs
My
for,
boy.
for sticking it out and still making the
You can
show.
literally just see it when you got on there. And
Yeah,
ugh.
he's just like half alive.
Nah, he just looks like that, bro.
I thought that's how he looked all the time.
It's like, oh, yep, ghosts do that to you, boy.
Yeah.
Man, that's hilarious, though. So, what would you say your favorite piece of equipment to use is?
Me?
Yeah.
Me.
Yes, sir.
My body.
Just you in general? Just you're the tuning fork?
I would prefer to go into a location and just sit. And give me an hour to sit here in the quiet and feel the location out. I mean, yeah. Do I like? Obviously, all the different equipment that we have is outstanding. I hate that creepy ass music box this kid's got. He bought that specifically to creep me out.
Yeah.
But I mean, geez, I mean, give me a voice recorder and just let me sit. I'm good. That's good.
Right now, I love voice recorders for real. Everything else does seem credible when you can get evidence that doesn't make any sense on it. And you can. We always say the rule of 3 too. Like 3 different devices have to kind of correlate, or 3 things have to happen, and then we're good to go.
Yes. Yeah. If you're seeing it and feeling it yourself, you see it on a camera, you catch it on a camera, and you also catch it on a voice recorder, then that's pretty solid.
Right.
That's pretty solid.
100%. Like, man, like for instance, like the footsteps that we caught, catching the same thing on
5 different cameras,
5 different devices that none of us heard real time.
And Randy's camera had an audio anomaly to that, like audibly sounded through the camera, but it picked it up on like the recording itself, like a. But to us, audibly while we were standing there, it sounded like something went, and we all like looked and we're like, "What the fuck was that?"
Oh shit!
It was so weird.
That's odd.
Like I still can't explain it, especially when you get those weird anomalies too, right? Like, have you guys ever had any like picture anomalies or like video anomalies where like the video itself,
your camera like freezes or like flashes out?
Yeah, and it could just be like in the file itself, but like we've had a lot of that.
The one time we were experiencing high mel on the mel meter, and every time it spiked, the camera audio would go static.
Just go to shit.
There would it would be perfectly fine, and then jump to like 9.6,
and then
and like you could still hear the audio, but it'd be like as it was doing, it was nuts.
That's weird. See, that's the type of anomaly I'm talking about, where it's like, what the fuck is that, dude?
That was interesting.
Those kinds of things always really get me, because I think it's in our haunted forest video. I'm like filming and my screen like does this weird thing. It went like black for a second and then it like flicked back on, and I'm just like, the fuck was what happened? I didn't put my finger in front of it. Like I tried to do it again with my finger and shit, and I couldn't. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. Like my screen just went black.
That's crazy. That's kind of what happened.
Split second.
That's what happened to Matt from Horror Archives when he went to the Pine Barrens with us. We went to the Blue Hole during the day, and we were filming. And he goes, "Oh, geez, my camera just died."
Oh, geez.
Like, oh, really? And he's like, "Yeah." So we don't even think anything of it because we've been filming all day. And we go to the Blue Hole, do our thing, yada yada. And we're walking back, and when we're walking back, his camera turns back on. He's like, "What?" I'm like,
"How the fuck?"
Know. But it's weird.
Didn't want to be on. We're in the Blue Hole, but it was okay everywhere else. Yeah.
Those kinds of things always creep me out too. In our tattoo shop video, you'll see this next Friday. We had a spirit box or S box fully charged just die on us.
Yep. No idea how.
Just died. Just turned off, dead completely. It went from 3 bars to 1 to dead in like 2 seconds.
Well, that's
used our other one.
Yeah, it was weird as hell.
That's what's happened. Like we were just at Penhurst. We were there from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. Right?
Yep.
We probably went through. We have batteries that last. They say about 2 to 3 hours. They last way longer than that. The entire time, the entire 8 hours we were there or whatever, we only had to switch batteries out once. I mean, for my camera, only once, which is nuts. We went to Sachs Bridge, that video where Aidan got negatively affected.
Yeah.
We went through, in like the 3 or 4 hours we were there, we went through 5 camera batteries.
Yeah. Both
Okay,
my
so how does
camera
one
batteries-
night not need to be charged, and then another night it constantly needs to be charged?
Yeah,
Same batteries. It was the same thing. It's not like we used different ones or new ones. They were the same ones.
and the same thing happened to me. I went through both my IR camera batteries at Sachs Bridge that night. I went through 2 batteries in my full spectrum, and my voice recorder that, geez, they last 2-3 years. I went through 2 sets of batteries,
Yeah.
and that's in that same 3-hour span.
Like
I
what?
mean, how's that happen?
It's
How does the energy just get drawn out like that?
it's got to be electrical, like what do you call it? Like manipulation of like how the spirits manifest. It has to be.
I think when they like imprint their voice or whatever it is, or use the energy to project their voice out, like they're using the battery from the actual device, and it gets like supercharged through it really quick, and then that's why
Like a power
battery
surge.
dies. Yeah, exactly. So like it hits they're going like through the battery into the device, and then it gets captured, and then the battery loses power because of that.
It would make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a power source, right? And if they,
Yeah.
they know how to use that power source to get energy for themselves to, leave a voice or affect somebody. I mean, that night, Aaron and Aidan both were really badly affected to the point where I had to take Aaron out, my youngest son. And that place, I mean, I think Aaron's a little empathic. I think, he gets affected at Sachs Bridge every time we go there. I mean, and I had said something to him because we'd been there twice with him, and both times he had been affected. And I said something to Shawn. I said last time, I said, just watch your brother. I said, because he feels this. I mean, he's feeling it. And I had to take him outside.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then Aidan then saying, geez, I just wanted to kick his head in, like that's not Aidan.
Right. Yeah. No, not at all.
That's not him at all, But we had a terrifying encounter there. He was the first time we ever went ghost hunting, was at Sachs Bridge.
Yep.
And he was 12, and they weren't going to let him go. And I said, look, he'll be fine. I said, and we all drove there separately. I said, look, if he's freaked out after 15 minutes, we leave. I said, I'm not going to ask for my money back, but, I think he'll be good. So they loaded him up with gadgets. We went out there, and he was fully dressed as a Union soldier on a Confederate bridge, so.
Really going for it.
But we had, dowsing rod interaction that was really, really strong. We had all sorts of voice recorders. Then he was cold from the waist down, like a 40-degree difference from his chest to his knees.
Crazy.
80 to 40 degrees, in July.
Yeah, in July.
In July. But then you got to remember Sachs Bridge was 4 feet lower back in those days because they had to rebuild it up. So because of the flood that took the bridge out, and they reconstructed it, so they moved it up higher so it wouldn't get flooded out. Right. And so we figured, well, geez, if he's feeling below his knees, well, that's where they would have been. That's where the spirits would have been. And that's when they always say that there's a lot of light anomalies under the bridge.
Yeah.
Where the old platform used to be,
That's crazy.
So, but we saw all sorts of great stuff that night. So we decided, boy, we're going to go back the next year and do it again.
Right.
So we had been in town, and there was another tour guide who saw these shadow figures, right? So he takes us out, and he's like, okay, we're going to go to the suicide bridge. So, okay, so we drive out there, we pull up to the suicide bridge, and there's these 3 teenagers sitting on the bridge hanging out. Well, when they saw us, they got, eyes got this big and they took off into the woods. So I'm like, well, what's this about? Well, the next thing you know, we start hearing all this knocking from the woods in the same direction that they ran.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately calling bullshit on it, and we went a couple different places and we never saw or felt anything. And he kept saying, he said, we were in this train car. He kept saying, oh, look at the shadow people. They're going back and forth between the seats. And he looks at me and he's like, Dad, I don't see anything. I'm like, well, that's okay because I don't either, but he was just trying to sell it so hard and nothing was going on.
Right.
So we left this thing. We got gas for the car because we'd driven around quite a bit that night. And I said, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I said, look, let's go to Sachs Bridge. That's our old stomping grounds. Let's go back there. So 2:00 in the morning, there's nobody there. It's just the two of us. So we sit on the bridge abutment and I introduce myself. I said, my name's Dave. This is Shawn. And then we get 2 different voices in unison, kind of go, hi, Shawn. Hi, Shawn. Boom, boom, right in a row. Really, we didn't hear him at the time. And within about 5 minutes, we were leaving that place. We just had this overwhelming negative feeling that it felt like there were 30, 40 people, maybe 100 people surrounding us, getting up into us, and they wanted to harm us. And there I am with a 13-year-old kid, and he's freaking out. I'm kind of freaking out. So I'm like, hey, let's just go. So we just casually went to the car. We took a bunch of pictures that night. And so first thing we did was plug the voice recorder into the speakers of the truck when we drove back to the campground. We heard the hi, Shawn, and both of us were like, oh, my God. It was nuts. And he's like, oh, I don't like this. And then we sat down we downloaded the pictures onto my laptop. And we're looking through them, zoomed way in, frame by frame. And there's like a stone wall at the bottom, and then just trees. And you could just see faces. And they looked like, the caps and the beards and gaunt, drawn-out faces. They just like 2 rows of them. And he's looking at me. I looked at him. We closed the screen and went to bed.
Like, not
we both slept on the couch that night.
done that. I've literally done the same thing. I was flipping through my phone one night after an investigation. I saw a couple pictures that were like very suspect, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna watch that tomorrow." Like, that's tomorrow's work, not tonight. I'm doing that tonight.
Yeah, we didn't need to. We didn't need to get into that night.
Nope.
Sometimes I feel like when you're like reviewing evidence the same night that you caught it, you're like almost inviting it back in, like.
Yeah.
You're just like you're leaving the case wide open, you're not closing it. Like, okay, we'll open that another time. We're just leaving it wide open. They're just like, all right, yeah, I'm still here. Actually, you caught me here, so I'm just gonna meander my way through this gateway.
Yeah, it felt really screwed up, and now I've been there. I mean, I do a lot of work down in DC, and I travel all over the place, and several nights I've driven back from DC late, and got to Gettysburg at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I've gone out there and sat on that bridge in the middle of the night by myself for 2-3 hours, and never felt any negativity, never felt anything but just serenity.
Yeah.
Except for that one night. And then again last year when we went and everybody was getting negatively affected down in the woods below the bridge.
I didn't even feel like threatened like that, but it definitely was like, because I feel like because we were all together. Yeah. But Aidan got messed up, man, and Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I never felt like bugged out or freaked out by it. It was more interesting, like what's going on with these guys, and like why is this happening? Why is all of our equipment dying? But I mean, it wasn't like that night when we were there by ourselves at the bridge when it went sideways on us. But it was very, very strange, and to have people negatively impacted like that, that's not in character for that place. That doesn't usually happen, at least not to us.
I was like always a big person that didn't believe in being affected like that.
Right.
Until it basically happened to me a couple of times. And I was like, this is really odd, like there's no reason for me to be acting like a complete jackass. Yeah. And I don't normally do this. Like the investigation that I always refer to is our Nunica one that we lost all of our footage to. But like
corrupted, yeah.
The whole night. I don't ever talk like this. So I was just like, you guys are fucking pussies. Like, you're not gonna do anything. Like, it's literally quiet. You guys are fucking pussies. Never do that shit. I don't ever do that shit. Don't know why I was.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, like it was so out of character for me. He even pointed it out, and he was like, "What's wrong?" I was like,
did
"No,
too.
like, I'm fine. Like I feel completely fine. I'm happy actually. Like I'm excited to be here." It's like you sure don't fucking seem like it.
It was almost like one of those moments where he was being so aggravated that it was aggravating me because it was like I was like, dude, like what are you doing? Like this is not the vibe right now. Like this is not where we're at tonight. Like we're not calling these dead people freaking pussies and like just demeaning them and belittling them.
Yeah,
like that's not.
Never have done that since either. And it's like I don't know what that was. It's just it didn't feel like it was me. Like I felt like I was acting normal, but I wasn't.
Right. Yeah, there's been a couple times that we've been out and you know he's said a few things. I'm looking at him like I'm gonna have to pull him aside and maybe get him outside, and then he kind of gets snaps out of it. But like he's challenged some ghosts already, you know, in the spirit sense. It's similar to what you're saying. Calling pussies, you know, I don't believe in you, this, that, and the other thing. And he's not really like that, you know. And
no, I get that. And like if I have a spirit that like challenges me or like says something kind of off the wall too, it's like, oh, then I'll chirp back. Like I'm not just gonna like let a spirit walk on me like a goddamn doormat. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, and we're also not the kind of people that if the spirit tells us to run, that we're gonna scream and run. Like we're gonna be like, why?
Yeah,
why should I run? What am I running from? For one, I don't like to run. So let's be honest there. I'm not a runner. I've never claimed to be a runner.
I ate so much fucking candy, it's unreal. No running.
I'm 55 years old. I'm 55 years old. I can't run anymore.
For one, if I run in the dark, I'm definitely the kind of person that's going headfirst into a tree, a wall, a door, a window.
Like trip over every
100%.
Every headstone. And it's not on accident. It's not on purpose. I have magnets in my fucking shins that are literally stone keepers. I swear.
That's crazy.
Every single time we investigate out anywhere, I'm always like, gotta get the shot. Smack. Oh fuck. Sorry. And then you feel obligated to like make the dead person that might not even be there like feel better about kicking a stone. Like
it's just a pile of bones at that point.
It's like how do you feel about cemetery investigations? Like, do you think that they usually churn up some good evidence, or do you think it's just so hard to like figure out what the fuck is going on there that sometimes it gets lost in translation?
I don't know. I've been to a couple of them, especially very early on. I was with somebody who had a spirit box, and we went to this cemetery. It's called Zion Stone Church, right? Pretty, you know, that's not something you're going to hear on the radio, right? Zion Stone Church.
Definitely not.
So we were by this one. They said, "Oh, we get to buy this one tombstone here. We always get good evidence, you know." And I never met these guys from anybody. I didn't know them. Haven't met them since. And we were sitting there asking questions and things like that. And we were taking pictures and getting orbs all over the place and things like that. And, you know, whether orbs are what they are, you know, that's another debate. But next thing you know, he said, do you know? And then we started answering our questions. And he said, do you know where you are? And it said Zion Stone Cemetery.
How the fuck?
Plain, and it was the same man's voice.
Yeah.
Beautifully. I mean, there was no question about what it said. It was just like, what the fuck? That was nuts.
It's stuff like that too, where it's like people might think that those are hack boxes and that they don't work correctly and that you can manipulate them and shit like that. But realistically, yeah, what are the odds that it says exactly where you are on command? And the fact that it's like that's a wild name. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not like,
you know, St. John's Church or something like that. I mean, that's kind of normal.
Yeah, that's a little easier to like say maybe the radio did it, but I still am like calling kind of bullshit on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But
like,
when you hear Zion Stone Cemetery, I mean, that was like, we looked at each other like, holy shit.
Yep.
You know?
100%.
And then there's a couple of them that are local here that you can go to, and there's one headstone in particular that I can walk right up to, and every time I've ever been there, it's just loaded with light, just orb. I mean, just like to the point where you almost can't see a stone.
That's
and
weird.
then you take a picture of the one next to it, and there's nothing. And on the other side, there's nothing. And you come back to it, take a picture, boom, it's there again.
Yeah, like where's the dust storm? Where the bug storm?
Why is it not there or here 5 feet away?
See, one thing that I like to do too, if we're like trying to scout out cemeteries for investigation videos, like what we'll do is we'll look into a cemetery and try to find a person that's interesting. But it almost never fails that you go into a cemetery and you find a grave that has something left behind by somebody as an offering or a present or whatever.
Yep, yeah.
That is the spot where the hottest activity is, almost always.
Yeah, pretty literally almost every single time we've done it. Yeah.
That's
Like
interesting.
that's how you can find like your most active areas. Just a little paranormal tip there, because most of the time it's left behind by other paranormal investigators because
Sure.
you know they're leaving something for a little kid or a spirit that really liked that one thing or
They're
whatever
tricked
it may
out.
be.
At least it seems like it.
Like Nunica, for example, we overlooked this grave for a long time. We have to go back to try to figure out more about it. But we found this grave and it has Hot Wheels. The entire grave has Hot Wheels all the way around it.
Oh, wow.
We have caught a couple voices there, but we haven't got the full answer of like, was it a little kid that liked Hot Wheels or someone that liked cars or, you know, the true meaning behind why it's so specifically like Hot Wheels left there.
That's crazy.
That Nunica itself is a wild cemetery because it used to be a lot less urbanized around it. So it was a lot less noise pollution, a lot less light pollution. But like we've investigated it probably like 5 times now, it seems like. And like we've caught like bangs like on the ground that sounded like somebody dropped a whole body out of a tree. Or like, you know, like some EVPs that we've captured, like there are some unexplainable
A
ones.
banshee scream. We literally
Yeah.
heard a banshee scream there once.
Didn't make
It
any
was
sense on where that came from.
absolutely insane.
And like
That's crazy.
realistically too, like the woods that are surrounding it now are maybe like 100 feet thick, maybe a couple 100 feet thick, because the highway's on the one side, there's a car dealership on the other side, and then the other side is being cultivated for something else right now. So it's like, who's hiding in there? Yelling at people in the cemetery.
Right. Yeah. There's no house anywhere nearby.
So it's like, it's just weird occurrences like that continue to happen there too. And I mean, I'm pretty sure I had my wallet stolen from that cemetery straight out of my pocket.
Come on.
I still fucking don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's just those little things like that. And like our bread and butter is cemeteries, it feels like at this point.
I love cemetery investigating because it's usually you get to find a story that nobody knows about. They get to tell. Like, I think that's so fascinating. Like our Haunted Indian Burial Grounds video,
That's
like
a good one.
we meant to focus on one particular spirit and we got no interaction from it at all. But at least we got to tell his history and get his story out there. But
Right.
Mildred, which is the name that's in the trailer you saw when this episode started, we have now encountered her for a second time since we encountered her for the first time
At that cemetery.
at that cemetery.
And it's like, I don't understand that one. Because realistically, when it happened, like we got the name first on the Spirit Talker while we were standing in front of her grave that said Mildred on it. And we were both like, oh my God, like that's incredible. And then we started the spirit box session that we were doing. And then we caught like it literally was like a little girl was telling us that like her birthday was coming up. She wanted sweets. Like it all matched like true to form what was happening for real.
We weren't necessarily standing in front of her grave, but we were walking towards it.
Yeah. Like within
But
like
we didn't know. We had no idea. And then we just walked up on this grave and it said Mildred. And this was probably 2 minutes later. So we were essentially in front of her grave within 20 yards.
yeah. I mean,
And
see it.
then we found out there was another grave. There was actually 2 Mildred graves within like 15 feet of each other,
Mhm.
which is kind of wild that that's the name that pops up and there's 2 of them.
Wow. So which one is it, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We think we know which one it is, But it
Mhm.
also doesn't make sense because she would have been 2 years old, so she wouldn't have actually been able to most likely audibly talk to anyone.
Unless we don't know how the afterlife works and if spirits age or not. I have no idea.
Right.
But the other one was much older, like lived an entire life. So it's just weird because Mildred also had a twin brother. They both died at the same time. Well, I don't know if, gosh, I'll have to retouch my history on this. I don't know if it was the same time or if he was an infant in death, but they were born the same day. I know they were twins.
Interesting.
And he has no name. So he has like the no history. So it's
The
kind of
history is
weird.
very skewed for that cemetery because it's so old.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
the area that we live in and surrounding areas didn't keep very great records. I don't think people really cared too much. Unfortunately.
There's the, fires, shit
Yeah,
like that. Like records get burnt and lost forever.
Was a big logging like community town for a long time.
Gotcha.
So it's like, fuck, people burned everything.
That's a real thing with old records. I mean, it's some places are very well maintained, and in other places everything's just gone.
That's the
Yeah, I
thing,
mean,
you
when
know?
your records come down to this newspaper on this day said this, like,
all you
how
get.
accurate is that even? Was that just someone writing a story to try and get into the newspaper?
Yeah, who knows, right?
Or was it a legit newspaper, or someone just have textiles at their at their disposal and was making their own paper?
Yeah,
Because people were doing that too.
absolutely.
Believe that.
Crazy.
So where would you go, Dave, if you had one location that you could go to that was like the goat, the unicorn, the one that would get them all, like, and you had every access to anywhere you could go, like anywhere in the world too?
I'd like to go to Edinburgh, Scotland, and that whole town is just crazy.
Right.
And I would love to be. That's There's catacombs that are under that bridge, and there's castles. I mean, any old castle like in England or Scotland or Ireland. Oh my God, that'd be for me. I'd love to try that.
Dude, the Europeans definitely did it right with how they preserved and just like, all right, free game, guys. Like, just don't destroy it and be dickheads, and you can enjoy it.
And their cemeteries out there are like the crazy creep factor.
Yeah, like letting the fogs roll in through the moor.
Yeah,
walk through there.
Yeah, I about 2 years ago I was over in England, and I was up in Manchester, and then it was a weekend. The guys we came back to Oxford area, and they put me up in this old castle, and I was in like a carriage house. I wasn't in the main castle portion of it, but I had access to the grounds the whole night. So I had my voice recorder with me. I was walking all around. Well, Saturday we got up in the morning and I took the bus into Oxford. I met one of the guys from work, and we hit all the pubs, had a good time. And by the time the bus dropped me back off, it's 11 o'clock at night. And well, to get back to the castle, it was like a mile and a half back this creepy ass old road. And of course there's a cemetery right on the edge of the road going back. And
has to be.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was really, really creepy. It was no noise, really, really super dark, and I hightailed it back.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it was creepy as hell, especially by yourself. In some place you've never been. It was creepy.
And the pucker factor goes up too because you're like, I'm in a location that's thousands of miles away from where I usually reside.
Yep.
I don't have any like safety nets here. Everything is out the fucking window. So if something does go wrong, and if it's something that I can't control going wrong, we're fucking done here, dude.
Yeah. Plus, it's thousands of years of history. I mean, what went down in those thousands of years? I mean, that's crazy.
Dude, that's what I always come back to. It's like, especially when I think about like paranormal hunting in the UK, like, there's so much shit that happened over the course of history that has to have paranormal residuals left over and intelligent like spirits left over. Like you said, like all of those castles, all of the old homesteads, all of the old towns that might be forgotten about. Like,
look at how they divided up land back then. It's so different. And it was like, well, if you kill them, you can just take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is the Wild West of fucked up.
That's right.
yeah,
No.
they did some crazy back then. You're just like, well, you know what? I really like that farm that's over there on the east side of that hill.
Crops are
So
growing,
I'm gonna
dude.
go murder him and his family today and take it.
Yeah. And nobody's gonna say shit about it.
And
No.
nobody's
Yeah.
gonna say a goddamn fucking thing.
Not a thing.
Part.
Like, I should have won the sword fight. Should have been better with a sword.
Mhm.
Better swordsman.
No, thank
No,
you.
you're exactly right.
I think honestly that sounds like one of the most brutal ways to die is getting sliced.
Ugh.
Like, you know, like especially with like a sword or a knife, like that sounds absolutely god awful. Like, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, because it's not going clean like through you. It's gonna stop.
No, it's like
It wouldn't be pleasant.
no.
hell no.
That's why I always wonder too, like if we're seeing these spirits that are intelligent sometimes too, like I wonder if it's because they had like unfinished business here or like some type of a regret that holds them here that makes them not want to move on to whatever existence is afterwards or whatever it is. Or like what ties people to the spiritual realm? Well, it's the near-death experiences that we experience that show us more of the veil. Or like if you flip that too, like what if somebody that like just realistically had more like mental fortitude than most and experienced a lot more traumatic events or like a lot more, I guess, spiritual events is another good way of saying it. Like that's how we're getting these intelligent responses from people. Because not every, you know, it doesn't seem like every time you go talk to a spirit, like, oh, that's my grandma. You know, it's like if every spirit could talk, like, wouldn't every relative of your relative like come talk to you too every day?
Right.
It's like I don't know. It always loomed over my head where it's like I wonder what the reason is we talk to
Yeah.
who when we do. Why.
And also, why do people have paranormal experiences when they're looking for them and don't have them when they are? But sometimes
I
it's
think
the
we do
reverse.
and we don't, but like we just don't pay enough attention to that shit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I think when you're looking for it, you know, you maybe even you start to see things that aren't really there. But you know, during the daytime, you're going about your business. There could be things moving all over the place and in the house, and you're just not paying attention to it because you know you're on the computer, or you're running the vacuum cleaner, you're doing something else, and you're just not focusing on it. But boy, when you really are, it's when everything comes alive, and it's like.
Yeah.
But then again, too, how many times have you gone to a place and just absolutely nothing's happened? You know, so
True.
Yeah, there's been quite a few nights like that.
so there's that too, you know, and you know we take different people with us occasionally. Like my nephew went with us for the first time, and we both got impacted at Hillview Manor. We both got affected at the one nurse's station. Like we both got real dizzy. Like we were both falling over. Like we literally had to hold on
You
to
had that. You
Feel
had
it.
that same thing happen to you at Old Lincoln County Jail.
Walked into a room and it's like
Yeah.
Like, yeah, vertigo, like a sense of vertigo almost.
I start like I'm like about falling over. I look next to me and he's like, I can't stand up. And so we both were holding on to the, and
Yep.
you know, he
Yeah,
was just over for Christmas and he said, yeah, he said a little girl followed him home. He's seen a little girl like 3 times at his house now.
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Like a little Victorian dress, you know, the whole 9 yards, a cute little girl. I'm like, well, sorry.
Like, oops.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we do our little thing at the end, you know, to tell them to stay and whatnot, and they still something followed them.
We kind of talked about this last night too, that like sometimes even if you don't mean to, you make like some type of connection with this spirit.
You make
And
it easier.
I almost think sometimes it's like you make it feel human and you make it like feel something again. And that's
Yeah.
why it doesn't want to leave you, because it's hoping that like it can experience that again. Or maybe I've also wondered this too, to like,
Life
do
again.
spirits think that like we're an angel or like we're a god or something like that too?
That's
I've
You know what I
often-
mean?
I've
Like,
often
why
thought
wouldn't they follow you? Because like, if you think about it, a lot of the spirits that we're talking to are from like the 1800s or like most of us are looking to talk to, people that have been dead for an extended period of time. We're not looking for
Yeah.
someone that died recently out of respect to the individual. But
That's true. Yeah.
like, a lot of these people were super religious, and like the belief in the paranormal back then was way deeper than it is now. Even I mean, you think Salem witch trials and all of that, like
You're right. Yeah.
there was such a deep belief in the paranormal back then that like they most likely think that they are ghosts, but then what do they think you are?
Right.
Do they think you're human? You have all this weird technology that has all this energy harvested in it. What are they seeing it as? What do they think it is? Like, what do they think we are? All of that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you watch these shows of the ancient aliens and stuff like that, and they thought they were gods, right? Fire breathing chariots and whatnot. Well, they were UFOs, right? I mean, if you buy into it, but I mean, the folklore is what it is. I mean, they had their folklore, and you're right. They were very devout. They were very religious, and they maybe would see it as an angel coming to maybe take them away, and especially if like when I go into an area, especially when I know there's children or elderly people, like it's an old folks home or something like that. And I talk to them like they're my grandparents. I talk to the kids like they're my children, and I don't ever get rowdy or anything with them. And I bring toys. Yeah, everybody does this. You bring toys, you play. We sit on the ground, you play with them. Did they make an attachment to my nephew and thought that maybe he looked like their father or grandfather or something like that? And hey, that's Dad. He came to get me. I'm going home.
Right.
That's an interesting theory. It really is.
Too is like, what if it's like the time travel thing where it's like we're time slipping, where like they're seeing us in the future and we're seeing them in the past. So like we're both like immediately both like fuck, like what the fuck is that? Yeah. And like same reaction, and it's like we just see that like, and it's gone, and it was the fleeting thing, and it's like, well, I don't think that's too far out of the question. It's like who knows? Because it is really weird. That's really good.
And I think, sometimes it'll be like that because, like, a lot of times when people see like a kid spirit or something, they say it's like peeking behind something. Yeah. Like, of course, a child would do that. You're a human, adult human, most of the time, that is where they are. So you're a stranger to them, trying to talk to them and communicate with them. They're probably going to be a little timid around you. Be like, I don't know if I want you to see me. Oh crap, you saw me. Or it thinks it's playing and it's like I'm playing hide and go seek. You can't see me behind this door. But then that glimpse happens and you do see them, and then they're like, oh my god, they can see me.
Yeah. Or oh no, they said they're playing hide and seek, right? Oh, they found me, geez, and then they quit going hide again, right? So no, I think that's a very real possibility.
I think it's so fun to like cook up like the theory ideas because there's
I love ghost paranormal theory. It's the greatest thing ever.
What if like dark matter, right? How the earth is surrounded by so vast amounts of dark matter. Well, what if when it's passing through the earth, because we don't know how it really like actually operates for real, that it's so dense that it causes these energy blips that hit the earth, and it's like that's where we're getting these paranormal like happenings, where it's like the energy transfer through the earth, or like maybe it's like the sun is like doing its like sunbeam bullshit, where it's like supercharging certain pockets. Because like to me, having it to be so sporadic and random all the time is very interesting. Where it's like, what's the correlation here between having like super active locations where like sad stuff happened or happy stuff happened? What's the correlation between like what is charging these places and like like time of year, time of day, like all of it has to factor into it, at least scientifically for me.
Well, yeah, and then you've got the whole thing with the type of strata that's under the ground. Is there a lot of quartz? Is there a lot of moving water, underground springs? And this just came into play at Penhurst. We were talking about, well, which building do you want to get locked in by yourself, at night, because we always do that.
Your choice.
And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think I'd want to go to the Devon building. I've never had a really bad experience there. I've never had anything really intense there. I've had some cool stuff happen there, but never anything that was like super, super creepy. And he's like, I was going to say Devon too, So we go into Devon, and I'm not going to give too much away, but it was pouring down rain. I mean, buckets and buckets of rain.
The elements play a factor.
I went down into the basement because I was looking for it. We all got separated from one another. I didn't know where anybody was, so I went down to the basement. I'm walking around the basement. There's standing water on the ground. Water is just pouring through the walls.
Shit.
It's pouring in everywhere. We had so much stuff go on in that building that night. It was so off the hook as compared to all the other three buildings we went in. That building was so crazy. And then we got home, and I came to him the next day, and I said, think about it. We were in the upstairs, and there's parts of the block wall were broken out. Yeah. And the water was just pouring. It was a corner of the building. The water was just pouring down that void in the block. And I said, think of all the water that was moving around that building that night.
Yep.
I mean, and if paranormal energy is carried by water, what better conduit? The whole building was on fire.
Yeah,
we've always had crazier paranormal experiences when it storms. Like, for instance, our craziest night ever by far, like for an outdoor investigation, was at Mouse Cemetery during a heat lightning storm. So it was thunder and lightning outside, but it was not raining or windy. It was just lightning. It was one of the craziest experience. I've never experienced heat lightning like that before. It was probably like one of those
once in a lifetime
like weather scenarios.
That's crazy.
But we caught our infamous like shadow figure
and the Victorian
dress, and the Victorian lady in a dress. So we caught 2 full body apparitions that night. And on top of that, one of the craziest Milgauss readings I've ever seen in my life. It was like 30,000 or something crazy like that.
Oh, it was like 400 or 500 or something nuts. Where it's like there
was way too many zeros. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, like I thought it broke for a minute, but it was accurate. It picked up a super huge spike, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. We're in the middle of the woods.
That's crazy. Like middle of the woods, right? I mean, what's out there?
Yeah, nothing. There's no power lines. It's not even like a well-kept cemetery either. So
no, yeah, there's ferns like up to your freaking
your nips.
In the summer, like up to your nips, and like you can't even see half the graves because it's so overgrown. It's gotten better in the last few years. People go and take care of it now, but
yeah, I think it's so renowned for being haunted that people are like, we gotta go check it out now. And then people walk through it and cause footpaths, and the footpaths just continue to get bigger. But that's like same with the old Lincoln County Jail. It was pouring that night. We caught that door moving. We had activity almost right off the rip, literally 5 seconds in that bitch. And then the whole night, had we known to investigate better, because we weren't very great at it yet.
We're super great.
We were
green as you could be.
Yeah, like we didn't even know. We were sitting in rooms with just cameras facing each other, not saying a thing and not doing anything. It's like, we're not investigating right now. We're sitting here.
You're sitting there scared to death.
Yeah, that's exactly. I had the hood up and I was like, this is scary, dude. Like, he's up here. Like, are you serious?
Heck, sometimes even now you're in a place it's like, oh shit, man.
Yeah, like when we separate from each other sometimes, and like we have to go find each other, and like if he says something and I don't say anything, we walk around the corner and it's like, I didn't think you were walking that fast. Like, you fucking scared me, dude. I didn't want to scare you by yelling.
Yeah, I guess like the infamous story for us was that Asher Walton, he left me in a closet basically in the Estes method, just left me for like half an hour.
Yep.
And then I was like getting literally nothing because nobody was asking questions. I wasn't asking questions. I was just sitting there listening to static for fucking half an hour. And then I take everything off and I'm like, where the fuck is he? He's not in the room. Like, I'm checking all of the rooms in the house. I'm checking the whole floor. I'm like, where the fuck is he? And then I hear footsteps coming up the stairs. I'm like, Trevor, is that you? But the mansion's so big that he couldn't hear me. Nope. And I'm like, who the fuck's coming up the stairs right now? I start walking down this hallway. It's pitch black. And I see a shadow. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I see a light. And I'm like, oh my God, Trevor, you just scared the fuck out of me, dude.
Yeah, I had no idea you said anything either. It was super funny too. Cause like, I was just like, I got to sneak back up here and not let him know that I wasn't up here.
I guess Rose Reeves is like the only person that ever see me actually get scared before at the poorhouse. I was live on TikTok, and they were the only ones watching. And I walk into the room that we ended up catching those footsteps in.
Nope.
And I was like, as soon as I walked in, it was one of those feelings. I was like, I'm not alone. Like there's somebody else in here.
Mhm.
And I go, if there's someone in here, can you make a noise or do something for me? And the same exact wood plank of the wood floor I was standing on creaked, and I felt the vibration in the plank. And I said, nope, I'm gonna go find everyone else. It was the only time I've ever like super chickened out, and I was just like, nope.
That's imposing though. Like it almost like was like, hey bro, back the fuck up right now.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
Well,
That's
I'm looking at where the plank goes, and where the vibration came from. There's nobody there. There's nothing. There isn't a mouse on the fucking thing. Like there's nothing there. It's just a window in front of me, and I'm just like, yeah, no.
That's the same room that we had disembodied footsteps. We had disembodied sounds. It seemed like a REM pod hit. The plastic got moved. Like
it's also where the tornado ripped the roof off. Like,
and then we also caught like a different voice after the footsteps ran away from us, where it was saying my name in like a demonic sound, and it was like, oh, what's happening? What is this?
That's nuts.
Yeah, it had me pooping my pants.
Hell no.
That's a real thing.
Investigations, do you guys think that you have actually been like legitimately scared?
Well, that Saxbridge one, obviously.
Yeah, that I thought that one was pretty obvious too.
It's very obvious.
For me, I ain't gonna lie. I'm a puss, so I get scared like on all. I don't get scared with the lights. If you throw me in the middle of a building all alone and I have a spotlight on, I'm not gonna be that freaked out. But like I try and push my limits, so I go full night vision.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal.
Dude, it sucks. I was super scared at the McCurdy schoolhouse when I heard those footsteps. After that, like approached me. I mean, we talked about that. Dude, I was freaked out so bad. Those are the only notable ones that come to my head, but I mean every investigation when I'm in pure night vision, I try and you can tell when I'm nervous because I like to talk a lot. I'm nonstop talking about random gibberish, trying to find common ground with the spirit to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But I'm freaked out on almost all investigations. If you ever see me alone in night vision, just know I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
That's
Riley
legit.
usually tells me to shut the fuck up. I'd be like, dude, stop fucking talking.
Like the last.
like as if you talk so much, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, that happens. The last
I'm trying to hear everything but your voice right now, bro. Like,
yeah, the last 3 or 4 we've really done at least an hour, some an hour and a half, by ourselves. Nothing but night vision, and yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I was in Hillview. I was in the basement by myself, in the boiler room by myself, where a gentleman passed away, and I was hearing all sorts of scuffling of feet and things like that, steps and everything down there. And I was by myself, and I was in there for about 40 minutes. And I will say that, I didn't run out of the place, but I didn't waste any time leaving either. It was a little unnerving. And that White Hill mansion was creepy as hell. I was down in the basement on that. I drew the basement on that one, and it was there's one spot I just didn't even go to. I
think that's gonna be my goal for this next year, is finding a place that actually legitimately scares me to the core, to where I have to run out of the house. Like I want to experience that for some reason. Maybe I'm sick and twisted in the head.
I want the flying situation.
I want it. Like I crave it.
Place where the brick just defies gravity and goes flying across the room. Like I want that feeling where it's like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna fall over? Am I gonna pygmy goat? Like what's gonna happen?
I'm pretty set on a water bottle falling off a counter. That's good enough for me.
That was pretty fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, I've not ever been in a situation where I felt like I had to run the hell out of there, but I can see it happening. I've been some creepy places, and it's a matter of time. You do it as much as you do it, and you're gonna catch it on the wrong night, and you're gonna get scared.
Right? Yeah. Well, you catch a person on a bad day, and it's like you can get popped in the face, dude. Like
exactly,
I think the exact same way. Like it's just certain days might not be better than others. Like
right.
I just don't know. It just seems like it would work like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, though, like people who paranormal investigate more than others, like they're gonna obviously through, you know, the exposure to it are gonna have more paranormal experiences. But I think that also it's because you're so much more open to it than someone who's just getting into it or doesn't fully like believe. Like those types of things play a factor into how scared you're probably gonna get too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the more investigations you do, the more it's probably going to take to actually scare you. But
Right.
if you're super green and like hear a big bang, like that's probably going to freak you out. It's probably going to freak you out regardless, but you might not
You might get a lot less
question it as much the first
reaction.
time as
Right.
you do the third or fourth time you hear a bang like that.
Right. Yeah, well, I was in an Estes method the other night, and something was tapping me in the back of the neck. These fuckers. And this is when Aidan was playing cards, and I'm feeling this on the back of my neck, you know, and I felt it like 3 or 4 times. It felt like, you know, tap, tap, right on the back of my neck. And it had just happened, and I felt it again. I was like, geez. I wasn't saying anything because I was too in tune to the whole Estes thing. And you've been in Estes for 40 minutes, or was it about 40 minutes I was in this thing? You get zeroed in. I mean, you're oblivious to everything. And
You're meditating.
They came over to me to bring me out, you know, and just after I get tapped here, Aidan taps me in the shoulder here. And I go about 8 feet in the air.
You screamed like a schoolgirl and the quad jumped out of the chair onto the floor.
Amazing.
That and spirit box go flying. He's holding his chest just like he did. He's like, oh my god. Dude, all on camera.
Dude,
It's
that's
gonna be so funny.
No, it's not gonna be funny at all. It sucks.
So fucking good.
I don't want to be one of those guys who are
But
like constantly like, oh, next year, you know, our content's going to change, or next level, because everyone says that. But
fuck yeah.
generally, we're changing it up, dude. Every investigation, even if we don't capture like crazy stuff, it is going to be so funny because we are going to be losing our minds the entire time. We're really trying to push past like the fear limit, and I'm going to say right now, I'm not going to handle it well.
that's how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
So it is going to be hilarious, even if we don't capture anything.
I mean, when there's 4 people in the whole of Fenhurst, the entire property,
Yeah.
and you decide to just scatter and oh, by the way, no walkies, no nothing, and hey, let's just try to find each other in the dark. You go walking around a corner, and all you got's a little LCD screen, and you turn, and there's somebody. It's like, oh my god!
Like, I think I just shit my pants.
Yeah, damn near. Yeah, it was a close one, but no, it was. And he did this dick here. I come in the building. It's the Devon building, the one that was wicked active.
Yeah.
And I come in the building, and when you first come in, there's a big room to the left, and there's these pillars, these like 2 foot by 2 foot square pillars that hold up the second floor. Well, he hides behind one. So he sees me come in, and I go walking through, and then he scoots out and skirts me and goes out the door. And so, because the kid who came out of there is like, yeah, Shawn's down in the basement. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just go try to hook up with him. You know, not trying to. I wasn't gonna. When I go to paranormal investigation, I'm not scaring anybody. I'm not playing that.
Yeah,
I'm there to do my shit. You know. So I went down to just see him. Well, I didn't realize he was there, and I go down in this basement. It's creepy as hell. You know, there's water pouring in all over the place. There's bats swarming around all over the place. You know, it's like shit. And then I take the whole first floor, and I'm not seeing anything. So I go to the second floor, and I'm hearing doors slamming. And then I see a light, and I'm like, oh, somebody's in there. So then, sure enough, it was my younger son and Aidan were in there. Well, then they hid in the bathroom and jumped out and tried to scare me, the jackasses. That's like, come on, guys.
I love me a good corner peek scare. I love that shit.
You know, I mean, I don't try to do it, but, you know, I mean, I'm not going to jump out and go, you know, and try to scare you.
I might.
You might. Well, then you're not invited.
I think was it Asher Walton. We did that to Jenna and got her so bad. We were literally filming our walk-in video. Like we're just walking through the house in the intro, and me and him just kind of like knew we were gonna do this. and we just walk through this door and just both turn around on her and go get right in her face, and she freaked out. It was
She fucking screamed and jumped back, and I was like, "That's perfect." She knew. She had to have known something was coming. She was just following us through the house, walking. Yeah, she's over there going, "Are you guys talking about the Asher Walton house?" Oh yeah, we are. You were in the zone.
For my job, and he decided to scare me.
Yeah, it's great.
well. I think we have we've reached the 2-hour mark, so I think is a good time to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for joining us of the very last live episode of 2023.
I can't believe it's over.
Yeah, right.
It feels like it
Wild.
went fucking fast. That's for
I ain't
sure.
kidding.
We got 3 days left of this crazy year.
Unreal.
Unbelievable.
And what a year it's been. If you guys haven't seen their content yet, you need to go see that content in the links down below because it's fun.
Let's get them to 1K subs. Like, come on now, people.
Yeah.
Let's get them there.
Here,
Hit
hold
that-
on.
He's obviously got huge locations planned up, so make sure it lines up with one of those crazy locations, and we're gonna be solid.
I want to hit. It's going to be crazy. Hear me out. Let's hit 1K by March. That gives us about 3 months.
Doable.
100 each month. That's what we try.
You got it.
Doable.
We're trying for. So
You got it.
See you, Patricia.
And then you know, the people will watch your content. They'll get you monetized, and it could change your whole fucking life.
yeah, I work a 9 to 5 sub, so I don't have to do that.
We felt that though. So do we. We literally grind that cobblestone straight through our faces. Sucks.
Yeah, it's brutal because I travel for a living, so it's I'm not home a lot, and when I do get home, we're out in some haunted location, and I get back from that, and I'm back out on the road again. So
And right back at it.
it's
That's the
brutal.
sad part. Is like I wish we could spend way more time in that zone. We always say it, like if we had a full day to do research, like do our diligence and really like spend the time that it deserves. Sky's the limit at that point. We do what we can with what we can, and I think we do a damn fine job. And I think you guys do as well.
Yeah. And
Thank you,
with
thank
that
you. I
being
appreciate
said,
it too.
we're gonna send it off 2023 with some good vibes. Everyone caught amazing evidence this year. Hopefully, everyone continues that. Hopefully, somebody catches something groundbreaking and revolutionary.
Already. We're just seeing it just trickling through.
It's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna catch something crazy this next coming year, and we wish everyone a happy new year. And we'll catch you on the flip side in 2024. And remember, folks, keep your ears and eyes open for what really goes.
Boom. In the night. Chase that unicorn. Never stop believing in your dreams.